Hello fellow creatives and welcome to day 10 of the vlog every day in August and 30 days of painted elephants project, day 10. I'm so amped today, probably because I was dragging my butt this morning, so I chowed down on one of these bad boys. Woohoo! I feel like I'm ready to fly. I tried it for the first time the other night in playing football and everyone was like, Nick, what's going on with you? You're like wired. And I was like, yeah, I drank a whole one of these. Needless to say, I played an awesome game. But I digress. Does adversity spark your creativity? Yesterday's painting went so horribly crazy. I don't want to say wrong because it was a big learning experience, but it was so crazy and so challenging that today I have like this fired up determination to master these spray inks. So I'm going to whip out a piece of watercolor paper and I'm going to do a painting with these spray inks. I am determined to figure it out. I am determined to figure out how to work with them and give them another chance. I'm feeling really fiery today, so I'm gonna use like reds and yellows and it's gonna be gorgeous. Let's do it. I'm gonna start with just getting some good old spray inks on the watercolor paper. You will see how different this substrate behaves compared to yesterday. Of course, using the positive and the negative stencil by turning it over and using the gunky side or the wet side once you sprayed it. And of course, adding the drippies. It is not working like the canvas. It doesn't drip very much at all. It's just a totally different experience. The watercolor paper is really soaking it up. And I'm only adding the two colors. I'm using this purple color and then a yellow. And because of the mixture on the watercolor paper, it's turning into this beautiful orange. And because I used spray inks on my palette yesterday, I needed to get a new paint palette because the spray inks will just run into all the other paint that I put on my palette. So just using a stencil. Somebody asked me in the last video where the stencils are from and I'm so sorry, but I cannot remember. It very well could have been the dollar store, could have been Michael's. Those are typically the two places that I purchase my stencils from. I love this little cross fence stencil, adding some white, giving some depths, pushing some things back, picking some things up and making them go forward. Here I'm adding some yellow ochre golden paint and trying to calm down a little bit of that white, just adding tons of layers. It occurred to me that this is one of the first times you guys have seen me work on a purely white canvas other than yesterday. Well, I guess the last two videos have been pure white canvases. But these are sort of the white canvases with my layer technique. And I've also noticed that I didn't bust out any stamps until now. So one of my favorite stamps is this French script stamp that I use with a StazOn black ink. And then I used just a zigzag sort of chevron stamp in plain old white acrylic paint. I'm really trying to get some drippies going here, but it is not really working all that much. And I love how when you drip a little bit and then you let it dry and then you tap it away with the paper towel, you can get some of those see-through drips, which is really, really fun. I had an idea of what I was gonna do with those drips before, but it just didn't turn out that way. Time to draw in my shape. I am using a brown watercolor pencil here. I felt like black was going to be too strong and I have an aversion to black paint, so I went with the brown watercolor just because I didn't want the marks to be too harsh just yet. And in order for that elephant to pop out, I really had to mask out the background, and you'll see me go into that with a lot of different layers of paint. I'm not sure how deep I want that to be, if I want some of those layers that are behind it to still be revealed. I play around with that and I go through different stages of darkness back there, as you'll see as the painting progresses. But in order to make that orange really pop, I'm having to use the dark color to set back that backdrop and really cover it up. That looks really black here, but it's actually just a magenta, magenta, and a little bit of additional black paint. And here I'm using raw umber. Once again, I'm not using black yet because it's just a little bit too stark sometimes. So I'm doing some shading and creating some depth with raw umber golden acrylic paint. I got to get the attitude of this paint of this elephant here. So sometimes I got to get that eye in there before I really can feel where the piece is going to go. It's just sort of it's the soul, it's the spirit of the piece. And I have reference photos. I looked at a very, very real-like photograph to get that eye there. I'm just adding a lot of detail in it. Compared to some of the other areas where, you know, they're kind of a mishmash and a lot of layers and transparencies, whereas I'm really making that eye very somewhat realistic. And I encourage you guys to watch to the very end because I have a big surprise at the end of this piece. Trying to get more drips in there, it's just really not working. It's so funny. All I could get yesterday was drips, and today this watercolor paper is just like, no man, I'm not dripping. I'm gonna suck it all up. So working with these inks has been a very interesting experiment. And I was like, okay, I'm loving the top applique, and then I've got some peekaboo applique here. So I just thought I'm really going to, rather than me doodle a headdress, I'm going to just play off of the stenciling that I did earlier. And you can remember when I did that stenciling, it had no rhyme or reason or intention whatsoever of where it was going to live and end up. And here you can see that it just plays perfectly for a design for the headdress of this fiery little elephant. Working on some of the detail here, I'm just strengthening some of the paint that was on that initial stencil because it kind of got washed away and covered over. So I'm really making it pop towards the front here by coloring it in and making it less washed out. Simply adding dots. I'm making sure to pay attention to what my paintbrush is doing. I put a couple of dots on the eyelid, which you can't really see here, but you will be able to see in the final piece. And I felt like this one trunk could probably use a little bit of stencil as well to kind of mimic the trunk that was behind it. And going over again and just strengthening those initial stencil marks. Again, that is what I love about just taking a blank canvas, putting a bunch of marks on it, and then waiting to see how those marks are going to play with the rest of the piece later down the road. That white acrylic paint really wanted to shine through, and I felt like it was drawing your eye away from the elephant. So I used a whole bunch of magenta paint, and I really put a lot of layers on top of it to try and mute all of that stuff. And again, that white paint is it's absorbing all of that ink, and it's wanting to, you know, reveal itself. And I don't want that big bunch of white to really pull your focus away. Using the 08 black micron pen to just finalize some of those lines. Again, I don't love to do a big thick painting outline, so I used a little bit of it for shading, and then I used the micron pen to just really crisp up some of those edges. And there she is. I love her. It's funny how some of them look like girls and some of them look like guys. Perseverance. That was the lesson for today's 30 days of painted elephants painting. Are you ready to see it? I am very, very happy with it. to say that this feels very much more my style than the past couple days where I've been really cutesy wootsy. This just really sings to me. I feel like it is my style, and the dripping of the paint and the working with the inks and the transparencies of things, that's really what signifies the work that I love personally. So she's all done, and she's a fiery little girl, and it is just a perfect example of turning adversity into something beautiful. And I think that today was a big success in that. So that is the huge lesson learned today. So thank you for tuning in and watching her arrive on the page. I really think she arrived. She didn't just transpire, she just arrived there, and I think that it's pretty special. So if you've watched all the way to the end, I have a big surprise for you. I am going to do a giveaway of a print of this piece. So comment below and let me know that you would like to be entered into the contest for the giveaway for the print of this piece, and I will choose a winner by August 15th. I have to limit it to North America, either US or Canada. But just comment below and let me know if you would like to be a winner. It's as easy as that. I'm giving away a print. Thank you so much for tuning in. Look at my hands. This is my bliss. Be sure to subscribe and don't miss tomorrow's 30 Days of Painted Elephants project and vlog every day in August. And of course, you can tune in to Instagram with the hashtag 30 Days of Painted Elephants at Wholehearted Art. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. And don't forget to comment below if you want to be entered into a chance to win this print.